coming up through the lab.
Squeezing the gunk out of the soul planes themselves.
I think the lab has already been riffled through.
Yes, this is true.
I don't think they're going to come back. They seem to have tried to not be obvious.
That's true.
But I can tell where papers aren't exactly where they were.
That's true. And feel where hands were.
I can feel hands. It's strange. Well, I don't know if they're strangers' hands, because these hands feel familiar, but they're not Ra's hands and they're not Kosa's hands.
That's true.
These are familiar hands. That's disappointing, but it's still true.
Still true.
Ra, Kosa, it's probably fine to go back. I think they've already been through your lab. You can go back if you want. They don't want you to notice that they were there.
That's true.
So first things first, when you go in, don't touch anything. Take pictures of anything that you yourself can see is different.
That's true.
I feel a movement, feeling a going back.
That's true.
Heading in that direction.
Heading in that direction.
Feeling. And asking to be shown what happens. We can move through time, asking to be shown what happens when they get to the lab. Ra is saying, if I didn't know to look for disturbance, I would just get a vague sense of unease.
That's true.
And wouldn't have awareness of why I felt uneasy.
That's true.
But I can see things that I know, and it's like habitual things that he habitually does in kind of an OCD fashion. Is when I put the hand towel by the sink, I always line it up with that particular edge of the tile right there.
That's true.
And I just always do that. It's part of my ritual, and
That's
the
true.
hand towel is there, and it's not lined up with that edge of the tile. I didn't put it there, and you weren't here when I left.
That's true.
So somebody else put that towel there.
Kosa's having similar moments over in another part of the lab, saying, I don't stack files like that. And you don't stack files like that.
And I wasn't over there.
And I wasn't over there.
Okay, this is good. Let's just take pictures of these things. It's more for our own benefit than anything else, just to help us remember and point at the odd thing and take a picture of a finger pointing at the odd thing.
That's true.
And it'll help us remember. And it also does away with that vague sense of unease. Isn't that interesting?
That's true.
Just by saying, oh, well, somebody was here and that's why I feel weird. The weird feeling actually does go away.
That's true. It's calming.
To find all of the things that register at a subliminal level as incorrect.
That's true.
And to really acknowledge them, it removes that incorrectness, because we're able to acknowledge, someone was here and moved it, and now I feel again the attention being brought to how familiar this presence feels.
All the hands that rifled through the papers feels like people who were at that big event a few nights ago, where some scientist was being honored, and there were lots of scientists there.
Yeah, they're all, but they don't feel good. They feel like they're on the take.
Bad.
They're on the take.
Bad feeling.
I feel like I'm raw right now.
Yes.
I feel like some of them are people who I think of as my friends.
That's true.
Wow.
That's a bummer.
And I'm trying to put myself in their position. It's like, well, why would I go into their lab? What could be a good reason for going into my friend Bill's lab and moving things around when he's not there? Starting the inquiry with what would be a good reason to do this, I come up empty.
That's true.
But we can start the inquiry with, if I were Bill, why would I do this? Poor Bill, he's just always so afraid about funding and
That's
money.
true.
He's just got real money fears.
That's true.
I would do it for money.
That's true.
And especially if the person worded it with words that made it sound like they didn't mean me any harm.
That's true.
And didn't mean any of us any harm.
That's true.
They said, we just need to
check up on what it is that he's doing.
Yeah, just to make sure that he's not doing anything that he'll regret doing, that will hurt his reputation in the long run.
That's
something
true.
like that. And Bill might even think, oh, that actually would be good. And
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go in and see what my friend Ra, whatever the
Ra's
name
incarnation's
is,
name
is doing, and see. And yeah, this little, then they're paying me for my time, but he can feel that it isn't his time, but that's how
true.
he's wording it. They're paying me for my time, but he can feel that it isn't that. He can feel that they're paying me for something that is not good, but
That's
he's
true.
ignoring that part.
That's true.
Yeah. It's my friends. And one of them is a previous lab assistant.
That's true. Another one is the friend, Bill.
Mm-hmm. They might be the three people I would consider closest to this, my closest connections. It might be.
That could be. It might have been they each came in alone.
That's
from
how it
different
feels.
times.
They might not even know the other one is there.
That's
and
true.
that might explain why things are so far moved, because each person making a small error, it's like that telephone game where
That's
you
true.
pass a message down. So no wonder my towel is not where it was and the files are stacked incorrectly. And other things too, there are lots and lots of things of, well, that instrument, it doesn't even go there.
That's true.
And something is completely incorrect over here. You know what this reminds me of? Is the stories when people really want to hurt someone, they just start circulating a story that that person is mentally ill based
That's
on
true.
nothing whatsoever.
That's true.
And that's what they seem to be doing. Saying, look, we're really concerned about name of Ra's incarnation.
Yeah.
He's been acting so odd lately. He might need help. Would you go look through his lab and see if there's anything? Look what he's actually studying, because he may have be having a break with reality. I think it's something along those lines.
That could be.
And we'll pay you for your time. Here's a payment that's way out of proportion to how much time something like that would take.
That's true.
And they all say, oh, this is getting paid for helping my friend, and maybe he has lost his connection. Marbles, that's exactly what I heard.
That's what I heard.
Lost his marbles.
And for the former lab assistant, it seems like what they said was, well, and maybe Ra needs to take a break, and in that case, that lab would be available, and maybe you could use that lab. And that lab assistant's thinking, wow, I've got some stuff I'd really like to work over in the lab.
Right.
And maybe he is crazy, and maybe this could be a win-win. I like a lab. They're hard to come by.
Okay, Ra, be prepared. Just be prepared. Assume that you're going to get called into the dean's office or whatever.
That's true.
And they'll say, look, we're concerned about your mental health. So maybe they won't. Oh, wow, big pain.
Yeah, big pain in the head, all of a sudden, squeezy.
Mm-hmm. Streaming up to that amateur videographer.
Ra doesn't feel afraid.
No, he's not afraid. He feels calm. And he feels that he's going to need to prepare, he says, well, quite obviously that meeting is coming, because look, they've been here, and
That's true.
many of them have been here. So we can assume he's saying to Kosa, as they're kind of restoring order,
Yes.
they're saying about how other people have been, I think he's using the word blackballed.
That's true.
From the scientific community because they were studying something that was unpopular at the time. And he's referring to famous people who of the past.
That's true.
Who went through this stage of their career. And they're talking about when you put a really revolutionary idea on the table, first they say you're crazy, and
That's
they
true.
laugh at you, and then they argue with you and withhold your funding and give you a hard time.
That's true.
And then you win the Nobel Prize. And maybe I'm missing some steps in there, but the point is, and you're still correct.
That's true.
And that this is part of, this helps Kosa a lot, actually. She knows this pattern from historical study. She says, oh, that's right, that is what happens. Oh, and they're taking it the right way, because what this actually proves is that they are onto something revolutionary. Oh, Ross is saying, well, this
That's
is what
true.
you guys, and he's talking about however he relates to the voices in his head.
Yeah. Those helpful voices.
Yes, this is what you guys were saying. He's talking to us, the helpful voices.
That's
He's saying,
true.
oh, this is what you guys were saying. If your lab gets rifled through, then it's proof that you're working on something really important.
That's true.
Because they don't waste time and energy on things that don't matter. And who is they? People who are
Working to keep the status quo.
That which we perceive to be obstacles on the path so often turns out to be great good fortune, paraphrasing Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
That's true.
And that's what we're talking about here. And I don't know who the we is.
But I do hear the we.
Yes. This is great good fortune. Be prepared to work with the situation effectively.
Right.
There's more. Let's not rush it.
That's true.
This matters really a lot. Let's see if we can get the whole pillar from the base through the lab all the way up to that level of that Nazi feeling dimension, and to pick it up on the far side of the break point and see if we can get it all the way up to those amateur videographers. And I see the leading children kind of stumbling over the threshold of where the amateur videographers are.
That's true.
Which means we need to find the next target.
That's true.
The next reflection point. Let's bifurcate. All of us who crave a connection with a consistent source of significantly higher vibrations.
The search for truth, central axis. All others flung away.
I do have a feeling of the crowd stepping aside and leaving a clear path. I feel up for a child. If it isn't a child's hand, at this point I don't trust it.
That's true.
I feel a lot of hands to avoid.
That's true. Many hands
to avoid. See if we can find a child's hand. Let's call up for a pure child. We'll ask a pure child to reach down and make contact. Take our hand, please, a pure child. A lot of hands to avoid. All of us who really want to know what's actually going on, to the search for truth central axis. Others flung away. Who wants to help all these dead children? Now there's someone stepping forward who doesn't feel repulsive.
That's true.
Well, we can start heading in that direction and see if it starts to feel like a mistake.
That's true. Doesn't feel like a child.
No, and that makes me really
so nervous.
I don't trust, like so far the adults are crooked, they're
That's
corrupt. True. I don't want to work with an adult right now.
No.
It's like, well, there's absolutely nobody else around that looks helpful at all.
That's true.
All right. Maybe let's just try it.
That's true, because there is actually nobody else around who feels helpful at all.
All right. Let's see. Well, there's upward movement again.
That's true. There's a current.
Okay. And now let's feel the whole pillar, looking for gaps, feeling for gaps, and with the intent to heal the gaps, so that once more it's a stream of children's souls moving up from the smaller subatomic into larger and geographically higher levels.
That's true.